Hi, everybody. Welcome to my show. You're listening to the Lynn Dowd Show, and I have got a great guest on the line today. Her name is Rajashree Maa, who is also known as Joni Dietrich, PhD. And we're going to be talking about something that I've always been fascinated about. And I think it's something that we could all incorporate into our daily lives. And in fact, I don't really think there's a limit to how much you can do, but it's called it is called Reiki. And sorry, I had a brain fart there. But anyways, we actually did a session not too long ago. And basically, I was complaining about a headache. Now, this headache, ironically, I had for almost a week and a half, and it was just not going away. And it didn't matter what I did. I took aspirin, I took all different kinds of things, sleeping, massaging my neck, just nothing went away. But believe it or not, within a few hours after doing this Reiki session with her, it went away. And I have been pretty much feeling pretty good ever since. So without further ado, let's bring her on. Rajashree Maa, how you doing today?
Hey, Emma, good. Really glad to see you, and I'm really glad to hear that news about your headache. And this is how Reiki can work. And it's such an interesting thing, Emma, because people think, well, how can Reiki work? It's energy healing. It's like, we're working at distance. I'm not touching you. I'm not giving you medicine. And it's like it kind of doesn't compute for a lot of people until, like you, they experience it. I
Mhm.
mean, right? Like, I didn't do anything, right?
No, I mean, that was the wonderful thing. I mean, literally, so to give everybody an idea, basically, you're watching this television segment right now. This is exactly how we did it. I was in this chair, she was in her chair, and we just kind of did it over the internet, which I didn't know if that was possible. I've heard other people prefer to have people in person, but it is kind of an interesting concept that you can do it over the video and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. A lot of people prefer in person, and in person is great. But we're working with energy. We're working with the basic energy that forms us all and flows within all of us. I call it the love force energy. It's often referred to as life force, right? And nobody knows exactly what this is, except that I see it as the energy of the divine within us. It's like that spark of creation. And so even though, I'm saying I didn't do anything, well, I did, but it wasn't anything physical.
Mhm.
I just activated that beautiful energy. I brought it to the forefront, and then you could say I channeled or transmitted it to you, which it travels across time and space, because ultimately the oneness that we all are is beyond time and space. And I was not giving you my energy. That's one of the things that I think is really important for people to understand. You are the same energy that I am, that everyone else is, that this whole world is at source. And all I was doing was kind of activating or reawakening some of this energy within you, and then inviting it to come into balance, into harmony. Because our bodies, our minds, our hearts, they really want to be working together in unison and in wholeness. The body wants to be well. And one of the things that can happen with Reiki is you feel very relaxed, right? And we know scientifically that when the body is relaxed, then its own natural ability to heal comes into place. And so it's more than just relaxation, but relaxation is a prerequisite for having a deep Reiki healing. And then the type of Reiki that I do is unique. It's called Kali Ki Reiki. It's based in our connection with the divine feminine energy, the energy of Kali Ma, and understanding that this love force energy it's the creative spirit that allows everything to exist. You could call it the Holy Spirit if you like. And yet, I'm using kind of spiritual terms, but one can practice Reiki with, you don't have to have a spiritual belief in your body, because it just is. This energy just is. Yeah.
Now, how is it possible that you are able to manipulate that energy? Because I think that was one of the most fascinating parts of the whole process.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't like to use the word manipulation, right? Because it's not like I have power over your body, right? We don't want that. You don't want that. But what I'm able to do is I'm able to invite again your own natural energies to kind of wake up and to come in alignment. And we're doing this partly through intention, my intention for your healing, but also your own intention for your healing, right? You wanted your headache to go away. We couldn't guarantee it that it would, but we both set that intention, and then it's almost like asking the energy within you to find its natural rhythms that would allow the headache to disappear. Okay. It's like the headache then can dissolve. And like you said, it sounds like you didn't feel full relief until several hours after.
About an hour, hour and a half, yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily immediate. I think you felt some immediate relief,
Yes, of course.
but it wasn't immediate because it took the energy in your own self a certain amount of time to kind of bring itself um, into its optimal state. And one thing that I think is really important to remember is that everything is energy. Right. We know this through science and physics. So the physical body, as much as we see it as this solid matter, right? It's really energetic movement. It's the energy of the universal love force, life force. And so it's just a movement. It's all vibration. And so the physical self is considered to be like just a really condensed and dense energy, whereas like our emotional self is less dense, our mental self is less dense, and then our spiritual awakening, when we truly come into wholeness, is very subtle energy, but it's all energy, right? So I can send, if you will, energy that you can't see or feel to you, and your energy, the solid matter energy, just kind of picks up on that and says, oh, yeah, that's what I want. I want to come into a better wholeness and feel good. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a really neat testimonial that will enhance what you just said, as that's what you did for me. That night, believe it or not, I was going to a rock concert. We were going to go see Incubus, and Incubus is a pretty hard band, but the one that was before them was going to be even heavier. And it was at the Ice Palace or Emily Arena in Tampa. Now,
Yeah.
when I went there, I have multiple sclerosis. And so sometimes when I'm driving down the street and I get that little light from the sun that hits the window, that little
Oh,
flash of light can literally cause me to get a blindness in my eye, and then it grows and then it disappears. And I have the worst migraine I've ever seen. And usually I even become to the point where I have like seizures, or I just kind of like hit the floor, not being able to function. Well, one
whoa.
of the bands that were up there had these super LED lights that literally was like 17 times that flash of that light that was bouncing off that ceiling. I didn't expect it, but I got it hit like several times in my eyes. And I didn't get an MS attack after, and I did not get a headache. I didn't even get the blindness. And so I was sitting there thinking to myself, my God, if I don't have one of these, it will be an absolute miracle. And I didn't. I could not believe it.
Wow. Well, I got to tell you, I'm impressed, Emma, that it happened like that, because actually I often advise people after receiving a Reiki session to just kind of chill, take it easy, try not to get a lot of stimulation. I probably didn't say that to you, or if I did, you were already going to the rock concert or whatever. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, that wows me too. It's a real testament to how true this is, how how very real it is. And that's what people kind of like, it's like, wait, but how can it be real? Because you didn't touch me and you didn't give me a medicine, or, you didn't manipulate anything. But we don't have to, because it is just energy.
It is.
Yeah.
And I actually have people that can attest to that. So if
Wow.
anybody has any questions about it, they were shocked as well. But
Huh.
I'll tell you one of the other things that was kind of interesting about the whole process was actually how you were talking about chakras. And I don't know if people understand what chakras are, but you had actually worked on my head, my neck, and my stomach, I believe. What are chakras?
Okay, so we do consider that there's like an energy anatomy, if you will, I'll say within our physical body, and that there's kind of this universal channel of light that actually, I call it the soul line, and it's medial in our body. And you can kind of feel it if you close your eyes, and you can just imagine like this central column in your body, sort of parallel with the spine, but it's straight, whereas the spine is curvy. And then along this, there are certain energy vortices, wheels, like where there's just a lot of energy. And so there's one at your third eye, right? Your wisdom center, one at your throat, one at your high heart, compassion, your heart, and then your solar plexus and your navel area. There are chakras, your pelvic area, your root chakra, and then what's considered to be the crown chakra. So those are just like, you can picture them as just swirling energy. It's a little more condensed. And then that energy kind of spreads out on these channels that are called nadis, or like in Chinese medicine, they'd be called meridians. And those will control the various organs and parts of your body. They're like what brings the life force energy to our body. It's like, okay, we think of our body as, it functions, it works, right? And it's like we're born, our body works, then it kind of deteriorates and we die. But that doesn't explain it. Medical science really doesn't understand. So what gives us life? And so the life force travels through these channels and the chakras. So what I sensed with you is that there was in addition to what was going on in your head, which would be primarily the third eye area, right? That there was something, it was throat, wasn't it? Or was it high
It
heart?
was the
Yeah.
throat, yeah.
Throat and belly. Okay. And so the belly is kind of like our sense of self, and our sense of connection with earth and in the world around us. And then the throat is it controls the physicality around here, even working down into the lungs a little bit, and our thyroid gland. And but it's like our ability to speak our truth. And so sometimes there's a big connection often between like the throat and the gut, the belly, right? It's like sometimes we have a gut experience, an emotional experience, something that is like really powerful for us. And for whatever reason, we don't feel like we're allowed to fully express it, to fully speak our full truth. Now, you're a very outspoken, say it like it is kind of person, from what I can tell, Emma. But that still doesn't mean that there aren't things that you have chosen not to speak, not to say. We all do that, partly because there's things we might want to say to somebody that we, we don't want to cause damage, right? But it's like we hold these things, and then that kind of, it blocks our chakras, and so the energy just doesn't flow as freely in our body. And that will affect how we see things, how we understand things. So with you, I was just helping those three chakras in particular to soften, to ease. and to more or less give you the conscious choice to speak what's on your mind or not. But if nothing else, to know it consciously for yourself, right? Because we kind of hold things, we suppress them. And so to, even if we don't feel it's appropriate to speak it, to at least be able to say to ourselves, ah, this is my truth. So, and I don't know exactly what may have come up for you about that, but clearly there was a freeing of all these aspects of your system. So I don't know if that answers the question, what are chakras? They're energy centers within the body that have a direct relationship to the physical aspects of the body close to them. And then they also have this kind of psychological component.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I would love to understand a little bit more about this is obviously there are some things right off the bat, like health, like an illness, that can obviously screw up your energy. But I'm sure there's a lot of other things that we kind of engulf. So we might not even realize that we would need something like a Reiki to try to help us get back into shape because we don't feel sick, but we might not be 100%. So what are some of the things that can get us to that position where we would need to potentially try this?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for asking because you're right. Reiki is not, it doesn't work just on the physical level because all levels of our being are our energy. So if we're holding trauma, if we are dealing with grief, loss, sadness, depression, anxiety, those psychological things as well. They're energies that get stored up in the body and can be released, just like the physical. And, even sometimes when we're having difficulty trying to finding a solution to a problem we're having in life, we can do Reiki just to help the whole system come into balance and have clarity. You know how when you know something is really right, you make a decision and it feels like the right thing. It's not just a mental thing, right? You feel it in your whole body. It's like, oh yeah, that's the direction I need to take. This is what I need to do. And similarly, you make a decision to do something, you do it, and then it's like, oh, wait, this is the wrong direction. You feel that in your whole body. So Reiki can help to bring clarity and harmony when we're approaching, life's question marks and turning points.
With modern medicine, a lot of people will say, well, this isn't FDA approved or anything like that. Because honestly, I believe that the FDA really truly isn't helping to do this. They're helping a pharmaceutical company. But I have always believed highly in these types of natural healings. In fact, for the MS, I do a lot of acupuncture and I take a lot of Chinese herbal teas. And believe it or not, it has done a pretty remarkable job. And I also believe that, people say that it's not going to work, and that's probably because the fact they've been trained to think that. But if you don't believe it will work, it can't work. You've already set up that wall about it. So how would you go ahead to prepare yourself to at least try to get the most benefit out of this if you are a skeptic?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I will say that some people that come to me, it's kind of like a last ditch effort. They've tried all the medicine, they've tried even many of the alternatives, and then it's like, okay, somebody tells them they should try this, and it's like, okay, I'll try it. But at least they're that open, that they've made the appointment. And then often, kind of like you, it's like, whoa, what just happened? That was so amazing and so powerful. But also in terms of FDA and things like that, I mean, Reiki energy is within all of us. And even though, yes, you pay to take a class and you can pay a practitioner for a session, I mean, compared to medicines, it is virtually free. And so, why would Big Pharma want to support this, right? They don't. But there actually have been many studies to show Reiki's effectiveness, and in some hospitals across the country, and more so in Europe, Reiki is actually considered a complementary treatment. So one of the ways in which it's been found, with good empirical studies to be helpful is in wound healing and in burn units. So people who have suffered deep burns or deep wounds, Reiki is very helpful. It's helpful for people suffering from the effects of chemotherapy. So these aids have been substantiated. It's not like you're going to do Reiki and not do chemotherapy, if you have cancer, but it sure helps, and so it can be used in that way. And then of course there are those that will say, yeah, but the studies aren't good studies, they're not conclusive enough, they don't have a big enough number of participants, and that's because the money just isn't there to fund these studies. But there are enough good studies that those in the know see that, yeah, it can be effective. And then there are those who would say, well, it's a spiritual practice, so it doesn't have a place in medicine. And, in truth, it's a practice of working with the energy that we all are. Maybe we speak of it in spiritual terms. I see it that way very much. But why doesn't spirituality have a place in medicine? It's a huge part for most of us of who we are and how we see the world. And so it's like we can speak a common language that often makes more sense than the language of chemistry and biophysics, and to, the ordinary person who's suffering.
Interesting. Well, unfortunately, I'm on radio. This is going to be on radio and television, so I got to cut a little bit short. I
Okay.
could talk to you forever. However, what I am going to do, if you're willing to do it, I would love to bring it back and do another 30-minute section, and then we can have it on the television and radio again, so people can understand it more. Because there's so many more questions I have that we haven't even been able to touch yet. Would that be something you'd want to do?
Oh, of course, I would love that, Emma, and it's great talking with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, obviously, do you have anything that they can reach you out so you can perform Reiki for them, or do you have anything like website, social media that you want to promote?
Yes, absolutely. So the website is thewisdomschool.us. Okay. And I've got all kinds of teachings, guided meditations. There's a calendar of classes. I teach 4 what we call satsangs a week. So I'm online, and those are actually free. This is my book, May the Love Force Be With You. And it's available on Amazon in print, Kindle, and there's actually a beautiful audible edition to it. So there are many ways to reach out, and some of them actually are at no cost. So would love to have people just also email me, and that's Rajashree at thewisdomschool.us.
And I will put that in the description, of course, so way people will be able to see all this stuff. But thank you for coming on. This is part one. We are going to be coming to a part two and very soon. And I'm going to be working with her behind the scenes to figure out what we can do to make it a little interactive for everybody else when we do come back to this. So we'll make it fun.
Oh,
So
I'd love
until then, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this, giving that little tweak to maybe hopefully try something new.
it. Okay, great. May the love force be with you.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to take this is the end of the segment. If you're on the radio, we got some commercials to pay after that, because well, we got to survive. So we will definitely be doing that and coming back in about 2 minutes to finish out the show. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.